We are live. There we got a little hang up there. Oh, hello everyone. Welcome to another week of live chat. A couple of housekeeping notes. First of all, there will be no live chat next week as I will be at a seminar. So it's important I get to learn things. You get to learn things because I'll share the things I learned. So it's all good. But I won't be around for next week for the live chat. So we won't have one. But that's okay because we'll have one tonight and then we'll be back the week after on Wednesday. So just so you know. Other big things going on. Let's see here. It rained somewhat. I mean, look, it didn't produce the 6 inches of rain that some people were expecting around our neck of the woods, but it did produce some rainfall and is starting to help to get rid of this drought slowly but surely. Certainly, we had some pretty good rainfall, especially as you head up towards Albany, up towards the interior, and around the Poconos, Catskills, around central New Jersey. Not too bad, around an inch or so. So, a little bit helps. Every little bit helps. We need more rain in southwest New Jersey. Tonight's book of the week is a techie one. This one's a tough one. We're starting to get into the more sciencey, mathy ones. And this is statistical methods for climate scientists, or just atmospheric scientists in general. The reason why I like this book is that it really dives into the mathematical equations within the climate models. You learn a lot about correlation tests, which, by the way, not only can you use this for climate scientists, but you can also use this for baseball, anything with statistics, really. So it's a statistics based book with a lot of sampling. The reason why this is really important to understand is when you start looking at climate data, especially when you are a junior in college, you're going to have to really understand the working parts behind that model. So sometimes you don't have the benefit to get a lot of that information, and some of this stuff is more for your graduate school, but you don't need to pay for a graduate school to pick up the book and begin to read it. And honestly, by the time you're in your junior year, you should be able to understand a great deal of the information because you should be taking statistical analysis as part of, well, they call it statistical analysis when I was at Oswego. I'm not sure what they call it now, but basically you take a math class in statistics, and you should be able to use this book just fine uh, with that. And so you learn a lot about how, like, the mathematical ideas behind the climate models and behind a lot of the theories that go into climate science. And when you understand that, then you can understand and to kind of dive into some of the deeper data and some of the deeper mechanisms involved in that climate data. So, education is power, ladies and gentlemen. And if you understand where this stuff is coming from, you also understand where some things can be manipulated one way or the other. So, this is Statistical Methods for Climate Scientists by Timothy M. Delsol. I probably butchered that name. And Michael K. Tippett. I'm just going to right here. Look, it's pretty cool too. Look at those reds. I love the illustrations in this book, along with all of the mathematics. This book I did not use for the CCM test that I am working on, but it still has a lot of great uses and something that I would suggest picking up, especially if you have a kid or you are in college. I think it's a book to definitely pick up and get for yourself or for that student. Now, as always, first we'll go over some of the little points I want to make about the weather pattern that we have in place. And then, of course, we'll take all of your questions. And then once we get all your questions, first we do all the premium discussion questions, all the premium chat questions, and then we'll check out social media, which I already see one question out there, so that's always good. And then we'll go from there. So let's go. Oh, by the way, the Mets already won, so I'm in a great mood. I'm in a very happy mood because Juan Soto hit not one, but two home runs. So he's starting to heat up. So that's some good news. So let's dive into first the pattern over the next 15 days. Now, we all know, especially premium members, based on the discussions that we've had that I've been writing, that tropical forcing is pretty much nil. I mean, the SOI is neutral. The MJO is neutral. There is no El Nino or La Nina. This is as neutral as you could possibly get. So pretty much everything that is being driven here is more based on what's going on with the stratosphere and what I would call ghosts of previous forcing mechanisms. So we had a very brief phase 8 that was very weak, a very brief phase 7 that was very weak. So this leads to a lot of these little short waves in the subtropical jet stream, but for the most part, the jet stream is suppressed. The polar jet stream is lifting northward as it does for this time of year. And what we have is a lot of cold anomalies over North America. So, what this typically leads to is these little pesky upper level lows breaking off, creating all sorts of havoc in the weather pattern. And then once they fall apart or once they shift east or west, then we get into some very nice, comfortable weather. So the overall theme through the next 15 days continues to be above normal temperatures, but not well above normal temperatures. Like we're not talking about 80s and 90s in May, but we are talking about 70s and a few 80s, like let's say 73 to 81, that type of range for your high temperatures. And we're going to have to watch to see the evolution of these upper level lows and how they play out. We already saw how the model guides can kind of exaggerate the amount of precipitation that these upper level lows could put out, depending on forcing mechanisms, the jet stream dynamics, moisture transport, and forcing. If you're transporting a lot of air in from the Atlantic, you're dealing with a lot of stable air. So the idea when I was producing the forecast for last week, for the range of Saturday through Tuesday, was that okay? Periods of rain, heavy times, and then some drizzle and low clouds. Low clouds were right. Just ask Newark or anyone flying out of Newark, but not as much heavy downpours. Plenty of times where we had drizzle, but that's why I kind of stayed much lower than a lot of the model guidance that was going, where it was producing easily 2, 4, 6, in one case 8 inches of rain. I'm like, 1 to 2 on the coast, 2 to 4 over the interior, where there's going to be a higher potential for thunderstorms, and that worked out pretty well. So my point here is that the pattern over the next 15 days definitely looks to be unsettled. Definitely a couple of days where we're going to see some pretty good rainfall. One of those happens to be tomorrow evening on through Friday. But stay away from any extreme totals until we get a little bit more trust with, let's say, some mesoscale data, like the NAM, for example. You could use that. You can use the HRR under 18 hours somewhat, but hold off on the extreme outputs because that's most likely a convective feedback error. So what we have right now is very pleasant conditions. I mean, I was just outside. It's absolutely beautiful out. Perfect time of year to go out. And I don't know, go to a Yankees game where the Padres happen to be winning right now, but I think the Yankees will come back. Or go walk outside and enjoy yourself after this discussion, of course. So it's beautiful out there. And the reason why it's beautiful is high pressure is gradually building in. Our upper level low is pulling away. As you can see, let's see what the visible, during the evening, when the visible satellite, you would think that it becomes less valuable. But actually, because of the upgrades that have been made, this is again geocolor, which is visible and infrared. I love using this because then I could see the low clouds starting to develop around the region as we get some cooling and stabilization of the atmosphere. And also you can see the mid-level clouds here very nicely moving west to east. So on our infrared satellite picture, let's refresh this real fast, shall we? Just make sure we got the latest data coming in. And we do. And here's our upper level low, one of them. And here we have another feature up here. Notice we're not seeing a great deal of lifting here. A lot of your lifting is more convective driven down towards the Gulf Coast, but no major storms yet. On the water vapor satellite picture, you can kind of see this even better. Okay. This is weakening. Okay. Basically, what happens is that it's become what we call vertically stacked, much like what this upper level low has become vertically stacked. So these two are weakening. But this feature here is going to come in and basically take over this circulation and form a new upper level low. And that process of that formation of the new upper level low is what's going to drive the lifting that's going to support the widespread rainfall by Friday. So on our latest upper level map, you can start to see that interaction here at 300, at 250 millibars and 300 millibars, should I say, starting to evolve here. This is opening up. This trough is starting to catch it, and you basically get this broad, positively tilted trough with a jet streak dynamic that will gradually support more divergence and diffluence over the northern mid-Atlantic once this trough gets a little bit closer towards the eastern Great Lakes. The upper level winds basically starts to show this process very nicely. You can start to see that interaction starting to show up here with our trough and our fading upper level low. And you can see some of the divergence and diffluence showing up over portions of the Great Lakes. So this is not, again, a powerful storm, but it's at the right location to produce enough moisture transport to set up a nice period of rainfall for us. So I took a look at the upper level winds for tomorrow evening into Friday. Notice how the winds are starting to intensify. Notice the spreading here. This is called diffluence. We're getting divergence and diffluence taking place with a very weak jet stream. This is, again, it's not a powerful storm, but this supports enough rising motion in the atmosphere to make for a rather wet end to the week. And then as we move through Friday, you can see it's starting to intensify, it's starting to get a little bit stronger here. This feature right here is what's going to enhance lifting here. So this is where I like my heaviest rainfall, right here, because this couplet right here will support the strongest ascent in the atmosphere. And then you got another couplet down here that isn't as important, but you can see the setup here playing out very nicely. So when we study 500 millibars, let me refresh this, get better, fresher data here. You can see how this takes place here. Again, there's our trough. It starts to dive in. Boom, there's that interaction. This part right here where we start to see a new upper level low form and basically these features consolidate, that is what allows a lot of divergence and diffluence Thursday night. And by the time we get to Friday morning, there we go. Perfect setup for widespread showers to show up here. And Friday afternoon, the trough goes a little bit more neutral, allows for a little bit more spread. Again, what you want is a spread, right? You want to see that spread set up in your upper level winds in your PVA because that allows air to rapidly rise in the atmosphere. And so the way that looks as we move forward is that you get widespread rainfall. Now, you might think that, hey, look, the PVA is right over us. This is where we're going to see the heaviest rain. But no, the heaviest rain is actually here, because this is where you have your divergence and diffluence, and your lifting towards that region is increasing. So your positive vorticity advection is moving in this direction, not sitting over this region. So what happens is that you get your heaviest rainfall lifting to your east on Friday night, and you dry out for Friday night into Saturday morning. In fact, this period right here, this is a great example because we got this question last week. Hey, why don't you ever talk about NVA? This is NVA. This is a great example where the lifting is moving away, and you see this little ridge axis here. This leads to a lot of sinking air. So this all sets up sinking motion, allowing us to clear out just in time for the weekend and setting up beautiful weather conditions for us for Saturday and for Sunday. At the mid levels, that whole process leads for this development at 850 millibar low. Where is it developing the fastest? Remember where I was pointing out that jet streak and all of the divergence and diffluence? Well, there's our strongest lifting at the mid levels. Again, forcing and developing. Not so much, unfortunately, around southern New Jersey. Although we should see some rain, But again, the heaviest is going to be to your northeast. And that also lines up nicely with our moisture transport. The reason why this isn't an intense, heavy rainfall event, well over an inch, is because your strongest moisture transport is well off the coast here. And so, with that, you only have a short period of enhancing your precipitable water values, which we could see right here. Again, the most impressive water values, precipitable water values, are remaining over the coastal water. So the fish get plenty of rainfall, not so much the coastal plain. So when we combine all that together, what does that look like? Well, tomorrow afternoon, we'll start to see pesky showers beginning to develop. Again, more convective driven. I don't see this as being a widespread rainfall event tomorrow, but more like pesky showers with capable of some moderate downpours. Then, as we move through the evening hours and the overnight hours, we start to see the precipitation shield become more widespread. On Friday morning, everyone's seeing rain, so a bit of a wet morning rush hour on Friday. And then by the time we get to Friday evening, the rain will start to taper off from southwest to northeast. If you're going out to, I don't know, a baseball game or something of that nature, it's going to be a bit hit and miss. Okay. I know that MLB likes to force these games to be played, but you might be waiting a little bit if they don't postpone it altogether. But the good news is that, again, the weekend is looking very dry and very, very comfortable. I just want to show what that looks like with the mesoscale data. I think we'll get a better handle on this with the 0Z data tonight and the 06Z data early tomorrow morning. But you can see what the potential here is on Friday morning. Just a real nice, wet, heavy rainfall. Bless you. Around the region. And then you can see the rest of the evening. It looks like it improves, but I think this might be a little overdone. I think this might be a little bit too much convective feedback, which allows for a very strong substance, which allows for faster clearing. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit more shower action here. But again, we'll watch it again and see exactly how everything plays out. In terms of thunderstorm potential, this is a signal here of very stable conditions. So we're just looking at basically a saturated profile here with some heavier downpours associated with this event. And that is pretty much it. Let me just make sure we got this data set up properly. There's our rainfall, and then the weekend is very nice and comfortable. So I know it's not the longest chat tonight because there isn't a lot going on. Shh. It's been beautiful. Hopefully not drought like. So we're going to, yes, that is true. Very good for yard work. I agree with that completely. So now we can start to answer some of our questions here. And let's see here. We have a couple of questions here from cards. So let's dive into it. Good evening, of course, everyone. See, so tropical forcing is quiet. Sun has been getting quieter. That is true. FYI, saw the thing on space weather on the Ginsburg cycle, which was interesting. I saw that too. What the Ginsburg cycle is basically a theory. Another theory that is interesting is a double dynamo solar model and the grand cycle, 350 to 400 years. Double dynamo accounts for two solar poles and Earth's two magnetic poles, and the cycles relating the same. Interesting stuff. Okay, so basically, there are different cycles that are being noted within the sun, and there's been a lot of different theories on the evolution of sunspots and what we have been observing. Again, 200 years of observations, heck, let's just be generous and say 500 years of observations, is a blink of an eye in terms of the sun's life cycle. Okay, so it's very, very small. So we have limited understanding on these cycles and how they impact not only our planet, but the solar system overall. So what we're noticing is a decrease in the sun in the sunspots, which should lead to a low solar sun output by the time we get to about 2027. We're in the process of being in that decline. So 2026, we'll see less sunspots than what we saw last year, which could lead to more ozone buildup, but we're not anywhere near the quiet sun period, which probably is going to be 2027, 2028, 2029. So if you're looking for solar impacts to impact the stratosphere and the ionosphere, that is where we're going to see that. Now, the Ginsburg cycle, it basically illustrates the increase in the solar winds and the interaction with the satellite. So, if you like your satellite TV or pretty much almost anything out there these days, there might be some issues. Fun times ahead, but there are also going to be a lot of great solar storms and auroras, so that's going to be fun too. 250 millibar jet is still have a lot of amplification. I wonder if that will remain sustained through the rest of spring and summer. Well, it's not so much the polar jet amplifying because we're seeing the colder stratospheric environment expand. You're seeing some of these cold pools that are starting to develop and some of these cutoff lows. Now, the potential for cutoff lows is tied back to the QBO, which I talked about this morning in the premium discussions, where we're seeing that trend, and we've been talking about this for a couple of months, where the QBO is trending towards an easterly state that is gradually starting to take hold more and more. We're not there yet, but we're moving in that direction. So, as a result, what you'll see is the polar jet stream itself slow down and start to feature more of those high blocking regimes. But at the same time, when you combine that with the colder stratosphere, you get these pesky upper level lows that become a pain in the neck and are slow to leave. So I think we're going to see more of those. Now, what's interesting is that if we start to see more high latitude blocking this summer because of the weakening QBO, building a more sustained negative NAO, you also end up with a more sustained Western Atlantic ridge, which means if you like heat and humidity, well, it's great news. If you're like me, it means I'm staying indoors with my air conditioning that I paid for from Central Air because I am not dealing with that humidity anymore. Right? Right. Uh Apparently Go Knicks. Oh, that's right, they're playing. Right? I think. Who are they playing? Boston? No, we don't. I don't know who. Let me go see who are they playing? Are they playing the Ninja Turtles? That'd be fun. Oh, look. All right. They're playing the Celtics. Okay, so it's a Leprechaun versus a Nick. All right. And they're only down by 9, which I think is not a lot in basketball, right? That's not a lot. Yeah, that's like 2 3 pointers or 3 3 pointers. So yeah, and the Knicks lead the series 1-0. So that's good, right? Are they supposed to win? I have no idea. I don't know. All I know is that when it was in the 90s and the Knicks were really good, they just would say go New York, go," and they kept on saying that. Yes, which like I'm like, did they rip it off from Vanilla Ice, Ninja Turtles? Yes, that's exactly it, and that's all they repeat. The reason why I remember that is that they constantly repeated that damn song every afternoon when I was coming home from work because I was working in New York City at the time, college stuff, and they kept on playing that damn song repeatedly. And I have no hate or anything against the Nets, the Nets, the Knicks, I don't know, whatever other basketball teams out there. I just got tired of that song. But hopefully, hey, maybe they'll win. Good for them. FYI, a Newark Airport. One thing most reports on the delays and cancellations are not mentioning is that one of the 3 runways is closed until June 15th for improvements. Well, that would explain the delays. Yeah. It just so happens the runway that handles the most traffic, almost half the incoming flights, of course, if the planes don't fly in, they can't fly back out to their next destination. Oh, that's not good. Well, that's going to make for an interesting flight for me. That is for sure. Well, that means I'm going to go. I'm going to go early. This is what we're going to do. When I fly home, instead of waiting to land, I'm just going to parachute out. Yeah, and we'll just land in the backyard. I'll probably circle around with all the birds that are hanging around here. What? It'd be good. We'll have a good conversation. It'd be fun. I'm sure the people on the plane won't mind at all. All right, let's see what we got on YouTube land. Going to the Mets game Friday night. Here's the thing, right? I don't like forecasting cancellations because MLB can be stupid sometimes. And they could be like, hey, we're going to wait until 9 p.m. to wait for the rain to come in. But what I would say is be prepared to be damp and to buy a lot of food. That's what I would suggest. Um, how much rain do you think we will have with the next front comes Thursday night into Friday? I'm looking at generally a half an inch to an inch for most people, with a few splotches of an inch and a half in a few locations where you get some of those elevated thunderstorms and heavier downpours. Nothing severe, but certainly some heavier downpours. I would not be surprised if many locations in the Poconos and Catskills are like an inch and a quarter, and locations around southern New Jersey are around that half inch mark. So that's generally my range that I'm expecting. Let's see. Any questions on Facebook or X? Facebook is always being mean. See, don't forget to breathe pure oxygen for an hour before parachuting if you're doing it from altitude. Plus, protective clothing against the cold and wind. The ironic thing is that I'm afraid of heights, so it would be a milestone situation in many aspects of my life if I actually jumped out of a plane. I would have to be thrown out of a plane. I probably would not. I'd probably get to the door and then I'd look down and be like, nope, not happening. I don't even like standing on a ladder. So anything on. Oh, I get to hold it. It makes sense. Yeah. See, here's the thing. I think these nights are a perfect night to. Oh, wow. It's 47-57. So we're only down by 10. That's not too bad. It's in the third quarter. Um, But the Celtics, are they a good team? I mean, obviously they're in the playoffs. They gotta be a good team if they're in the playoffs. I have no idea. You know what I like about the Celtics is that they're color coordinated. They're easy to tell who they are. You know, no questions. Well, it is a quiet period. Yeah. Now, what I do know is baseball, and what I don't understand is why is it that God, wow, the Phillies are just destroying the Rays right now. The Reds are beating the Braves. The Braves are in trouble this year. Holy smokes. Now, the Yankees, look, you're facing the Padres. I'm going to ask something very simple. Hit a home run, just a 2-run home run, and then try to close out the game. I think you guys can do it. Let's see here. Boston is defending champions. Really? Boston wins stuff? How has that happened? And had the second best record in the Eastern Conference this year. So the fact that the Knicks are even in the lead is apparently really impressive. Um, so good for them. Hey, look, I'm looking forward to I don't know, what do the Knicks do? Do they play again? It's the semifinals, so I'm guessing it's the semifinals, and you gotta have the finals, then the finals, and then you face the boss, then the final countdown, and then you face the shark boss, and then you win. Don't they have other things? Do you see, that's the problem. I can't keep a track of the NBA because they have all these other seasons within a season, and then they have a 3-point shootout season and all this other stuff, and I don't get it. But I will say I hope that the Knicks win. Mostly because look, I got no beef with them, and anytime I can remind a Boston fan about the Red Sox while talking about basketball, I guess would be fun. I don't know. Speaking of baseball, Stanton is taking batting practice again. Good for him. Here's the problem with Stanton, and this is why I wasn't worried about when the Yankees got him. Is that even with the Marlins, he was perpetually hurt. So I think it'd be good for the Yankees. Celtics won the championship last year. They're really good. See, I don't know this. See, look, here's the thing. I'm a nerd. I'm a proud. I mean, as you can see in the background here. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, we are a couple of dorks. So it's amazing that I even care about baseball and football. Football because I played it because I wanted to play a sport, and hitting things seemed like a good idea in high school. So, and baseball I didn't play because the ball kept on hitting me rather than me hitting the ball. So I decided not to play that sport, just enjoy it from the stands. So I just can't, like, even like the what's it called, the NCAA basketball. I can't get into it. I mean, the most I do is just pick the winners based on the mascots. I think the Yankees are getting no hit right now. Are you kidding me? They're getting no hit. Come on. Oh man, by Cease of all people too, who's been horrible this year. But so can't even flip to the. Oh wow, that's right, because they're on Amazon. See, this is the great thing about having multiple TVs. Well, not TVs, but monitors. Yeah, yeah. Because then we can watch different sport. Well, I could watch different sports, and then she could watch whatever she wants. So we don't ever get into an argument because I can watch my game. Now, this is why I love technology. You kids don't even understand. Some of you younger kids out there, right? When I was growing up, there was one TV, and you fight about what to be on. Now you can literally watch sports on your phone while having a movie on and watching another channel, and your wife can watch something else at the same time. That's insane, right? Right. Or you put, or if you're watching a sport event, what you do is put on WFAN, and back when it was good, okay, when it was good and they actually talked about sports, um, that was what you did. So that way you can listen to what's going on with the games. We could do the same thing, but no Amazon Prime, so number of screens don't matter. Yeah, I understand that. Let's see here. So I think that covers all the questions for tonight, unless you guys want to hear my rants about sports, which is always fun. I mean, this is the type of this is the time of year where I can kind of have a little fun, talk about different things because look, I mean, it's going to rain. And I get it. There isn't going to be a lot of questions about that. This isn't going to be a powerful storm. We'll get a half an inch of rain, which look, I'll take it. Um, but yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you this weekend with the substance we're gonna have in place, it's gonna be absolutely beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna go out. We're gonna get the yard work done. I'm gonna get the flamethrower and take care of all these. Look, I know how to take care of the weeds. I figured it out. I'm just gonna burn. Just gonna burn them all. Yeah, it'll be great. We'll just gone. Especially especially no, just the vines. Those vines. We got these vines that keep on showing up. I think we just need to go scorch earth on it and just take them out. No, no, we focus on it. We devise a focusing mechanism, and we just go and kill the damn weed. Well, everything else gets killed, but the weed keeps on growing. Let's see here. How did you like the Chiefs draft? I love the fact they got linemen. I don't care. Look, I know all you guys out there, especially like the Giants, are really excited about the quarterback they got. If you don't have an offensive line, it doesn't matter. So the fact that the Chiefs got a couple of good offensive line, I am very, very happy about. Because if you don't have any time to throw, it doesn't matter how good of an arm you have if you're already getting hit before you even have a chance. And the Cowboys trade, I think that will be an okay trade. That's why they call them weeds. That's why I will destroy them. They have declared war, but they don't know who they're messing with. So those weeds are in trouble. I've devised a plan already. Let's see here. We'll check on. Oh wow, Celtics pulled ahead. Yeah, but all right. So it's gonna be 1-1. Look, this is what you do, right? You're at the garden, I guess, right? Yeah, it looks like the garden. Okay, so this is what you do. Before they get on the bus, you take out one of the wheels, and then you take out the Celtics. There you go. Then you're done. Exactly. You get them stuck in the Lincoln Tunnel. They'll never be able to get out. And then they just have to forfeit the rest of the games. There you go. See, I think of all these plans, and I don't even play the sport. I think that that's the best way to go. Fully agree with O-line, like, which is why I really like the Cowboys' first round guard in the draft. Yeah, I think that a lot of people look, if you already have a good offensive line or defensive line, then getting the flashy players makes sense in the draft. But otherwise, it doesn't make much sense to me. What's the point of having a franchise quarterback if the guy is getting his arm broken in the first game because your offensive line allows everyone to rush in? They came back down 20 in the third in game one. Wow. We were going 9 going into the fourth and won it in overtime. Well, here's the thing, right? I think that the Knicks can pull this out if they capture the leprechaun. Any questions? Oh, there we go. From Jeff. Any thoughts on the thunderstorm cluster in South Texas this morning with the tops nearing 70,000 feet? Operation? Yeah, those were all right. Those were enhanced by a mesoscale low that was interacting with the Gulf. So it was a very impressive setup. It's rare. I have seen it before back in my 20s when I was chasing. So it's a very rare event, but it's not completely unusual, but you have to have the perfect atmospheric dynamics in order to play out. No point in paying 50 million a year for a QB if the QB runs for his life every game. That is true. That is true. Unless he's running towards the end zone. That's good, right? I mean, but how rare does that happen? Let's see. It looks like we're doing pretty good with all the questions. I think we answered everything. So I am not going to try to compete with a basketball game and the fact that the Yankees are getting no hit. I might actually have to check that out and then laugh about it. And I'll send a note to my brother about that. Hey, how's your team doing? That'd go over really well. So yeah. So let's see. It's almost 8:40. We'll call it a night for tonight. Obviously, it's pretty quiet out there, but we answered a lot of the questions that you had. We talked about some sports. We got a statistical book that we went over, and the best part of all, it's gonna rain, which means that we're gonna slowly get out of our drought. So again, next week, no live chat. I'm going to do a seminar, have some fun. I got another seminar coming up in June. That's with the American Meteorological Society, where I'm going to be doing a presentation. So that's going to be fun too. Freed is pitching great too, but just the Yankees can't do anything at the plate so far. This is what you do. You try to hit the ball, and it goes that way. In the meantime, stay safe out there.